Knife crime, very important. Lots of people are talking about it, particularly today. Another young person has been knifed. When will it stop? I'll tell you when it'll stop. When we stop pussyfooting around and saying things like, oh, we've got to find things for people to do. We've got to try and encourage people in their lives are terrible and everything else. Because lots and lots of people have shocking lives. They don't all resort to behave. Why am I doing the Donald Trump hand gesture?
Because you admire him.
I do admire him, yeah, and he's done well. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But we've got to stop this. You know, if you go out and you want to attack somebody and kill somebody, then you need to learn that that is not acceptable. You need to be put in your place because you are a little thug. Right? The police need to be able to go out and stop people. And if a person they stop gets a bit antsy with them, then take them in. Put them in a cell. Leave them there for 48 hours or something. We need a little more discipline in society. We don't need all the snowflakery that's going on. We've got to understand people because they're very upset. It's not working. It's not working. There are loads of people come together and say, oh, well, I'm an ex-gang member, I'm an ex-gang, and we're doing this and we're doing that. Not working. Not working. Right? What you need is a bit of discipline. If you go out with a knife and you start using it in an aggressive manner and end up hurting somebody, then you are going to be dealt with. Right. There's another story going about that people have been talking about today. I want to get off my chest as well. A 98-year-old man I think it was in North London somewhere, has been beaten up. He's now on life support.
Enfield, I think it was.
A 98-year-old man beaten up by the lowest of the low, the scummiest of the scum, burglars, thieves. And you know what? We don't have the resources in many cases to deal with these people. And when they go to prison, they get minimal sentences. Sometimes even a deferred sentence. I'm sorry, but if you are prepared to beat up a 98-year-old man in his own home, you need either your neck stretched or a very long time in jail. Now, I don't believe in capital punishment. I don't think it actually achieves anything because I don't think it puts off or deters murderers. But I'll tell you what, if you executed a few thieves, then people would think twice about doing it. And some of the people who do this kind of thing are exactly the same mentality as those kids out there with their knives who think they're hard, who think that they can rule the streets, who talk about wanting to be respected. They're scum. They are the lowest of the low. And we need to stop going on about, oh, well, it's not their fault. They've been brought up badly. It's really not their fault. And we've got to stop these community leaders, unelected people who set themselves up in positions of authority, and politicians go cap in hand to them. Stop it. We are all of the same community. Doesn't matter what colour your skin is. Doesn't matter whether you believe in a God or not. You either behave properly or you don't. And when I say properly, I'm not talking about people's morals or whether they look I'm not talking about all the stuff that everybody gets themselves upset about at the moment. If you try interfering with another person, robbing them, stealing from them, hurting them, then you don't fit into society as the way it is. On the one hand, we've got all this violence, all this trouble, and on the other hand, we've got all these people worrying about their safe spaces and not being upset. It doesn't work. There needs to be control taken. And I don't think the politicians we have at the moment, in the main, actually have the bottle or the nous or the, think of another word, Ash. Well,
gumption.
Thank you for doing it. Good word. For doing it. You know, they're worried about being labelled racist. They're worried about being labelled misogynist. They're worried about being labelled sexist. They're worried about being labelled. We live in a time when half society goes on about, I don't want to be offended. I don't want anyone to upset. And if somebody looks at me the wrong way or sounds as if they're taking the mick out of me, I'm going to make complaints. Whilst the other section of society are there knifing each other. breaking into their homes, beating up pensioners. This is not acceptable in today's society, and somebody had better start talking out against
They
it.
ignore the population. I mean, the population as a whole wants much stiffer sentences, has done for decades, and yet we're ignored by the Palace of Westminster. Why are they ignoring what
They're
the people
ignoring
want?
us because the community leaders go to them and say, well, you can't do that. You can't stop and search somebody because somebody might consider you're being racist. Look, I don't care what colour you are. I don't care what school, church, whatever you go to. If you go around the streets looking for trouble, you're going to get it. And that's what a lot of these kids do. And that's what a lot of these thieves do. We live in a society where we don't consider robbery and burglary that serious crime. Ring the police. Do you want a crime number so you can claim it on your insurance? I don't want a crime number. I want the person caught and dealt with. And I don't want them given community service. I want them given bread and water and strapped to a wall in a damp cell.
Yeah, like in America.
Yeah. Doesn't work in America, but it makes you feel...
It does, because they never get out in America.
Well, no, that's a very good point. But they've got a lot of space to lock people away.
Yeah. They don't get drones flying in their prisons.
No, they don't. No. So I think we need to really rethink the situation. So tonight, if I've offended you, great. I'm really pleased if I've offended you.
You forgot to warn people not to be offended.
No, well, tough. You've been offended now. That's your problem.
Yeah.
But you have a right. Of course, you can complain, and many people do. But you could, if you've got any bottle at all, if you've got anything about you at all, if you think I'm talking rubbish, what you could do is get on the phone and call us right now. Here's the number, 0344 499 1000. I'll do it again because some of you will be a bit stupid and you won't be able to get the number down in time. And I'm shouting and it's making me very angry, 0344 499 1000. And I'm not sure whether we have the picture of this poor guy who was beaten up, but his family have put the picture out on television on the newswires. I don't know whether it's on our website. I hope it is. I would very much like to see if we couldn't get his son, who's been doing interviews, on the programme later today. Because somebody will know the person who broke into this pensioner's house, 98 years old, lived in the same house for 50 years, and some scumbag has gone in there, nicked his television, by the way, and a few other things, and beaten the crap out of him. He's on life support in hospital. He's 98. He probably won't survive. And the little scummy person who did it probably, they think, oh, well, he was old anyway.
If he doesn't survive,
he was old.
That'll be murder, won't it?
We need to stop this. In the same way that these kids... They're not kids, by the way. Can we stop saying they're kids? They're teenagers. They're not kids. They're teenagers who think they can do whatever they want. They're teenagers who think they're better than everybody else. They're teenagers who are so wrapped up with arrogance, and because nobody in their family or in their community or wherever they live has stood up to them, think they can do whatever they want. Well, I'm putting down a marker. They can't.
They always laugh in court as well, and then they're released early, and they laugh, and there needs to be...
Wipe the smile off the little toe rags' faces. That's all you have to do. The police can do it. They need the authority of the politicians and the very weak chief constables in this country who are spending most of their time sucking up to their political masters. That is why we have an epidemic. That is why over 120 young people have been stabbed and killed during the first part of this.
In London alone, it's 200.
This is just London.
200 and something across the country.
Yeah. And it's not acceptable. And it's no good. Community leaders, and I saw them on a flipping BBC programme I wouldn't normally watch, Victoria somebody or other. And I sat there watching this debate. They're all being very worthy and, talking about it. Listen, forget the worthiness. Forget I used to. And we've got people we know and we talk to on this programme who are ex-gang members who carry out sorts of... It's all down to discipline. And if you come from a family who don't instill discipline in you, then that is the fault of the family. They need to be sorted as well. And there is no point in going around saying, well, there's nothing for the kids to do. There's more for people to do now than there has ever been at any other time. When I was a kid, we used to go out and climb trees because we didn't have computers. We didn't have the sorts of things that you have now. There wasn't anything much. We still had problems. There were still people who behaved badly, but if they got caught by the police, they got dealt with. But now, because we have all wanted to be so flippin' touchy-feely, we've got ourselves into a situation and we can't get out of, because now we've got all the do-gooders moaning, oh, you can't do that, you can't stop them. No, if you stop them, you're going to upset them, you're going to psychologically damage them, they're never going to get better. That hasn't worked, has it? So let's stop the understanding and start a little bit of discipline, a little bit of authority, a little bit of punishment. Or am I completely wrong?
No, I think you've hit the nail on the head.